Testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2. Give me 1 second as I warm up my computer, testing for sound. Testing 1, 2. And here. Give me 1 second as I warm up my computer, testing for sound. All right, it looks like we got something here. All right, so we're good to go. So let's get to it. I'll open up the screen. All right. Okay, so let me show up the screen here. Share my screen. Okay. So what we're looking at is, where I'm going to load up my, give me a second here. Okay, here we are. This is what I want. This is a quant analytics dashboard. I am going to not lie. I use this a lot more than I thought I would. And it's really important that people do the same. I'm just trying to work out a routine now as this is starting to prove itself really, really well. And I'm pretty excited by it. So right now, just let me know if you can see the screen if possible. Let me see, I'm not sure if I have my screen open. There we go, okay. All right, so I cover cryptocurrency analysis, CFD analysis, which is derivatives, and we also cover Forex analysis as well. The CFD I'm finding really, really valuable. This is up to date within an hour, of which are the fast moving instruments according to Oanda, and these are your shorting opportunities as well. We have here, this one I verified, I looked into the log. This isn't moving at all. It's got very little volume. I have no idea if I should call this quote unquote stuck, this UK 10-year. I find it just bizarre. It's at 2%. It's been like that for a while, and there's been very little volume on it. So I guess you're going to run into these kind of instances. This one, the silver dollar would make sense, but this one is the one I'm really interested in. And down here, I like to see where my changes are in terms of the Deutsche. Where is it? Deutsche, where are you, Deutsche? This is a Deutsche 10-year Bund. But anyways, that may be consistent. I'd have to verify that. Anyways, we have here BCO, Brent crude oil. Now, price went up last night, so that's an interesting one to watch. 0.94%. And I'm very interested in that. Also, the UK 100 FTSE as well is up, not as high, but this one is interesting. XPT, which I believe is platinum. Let me just verify that here. XPT USD. Let's see if that comes up. Yeah, so it's platinum. All right. So there was a story. Okay, I'm gonna try to line these up here. These events here are driven by news. I went through my Bloomberg last night, and I found this story. This is on The Verge. So platinum more expensive than gold. Okay. So let me see if I can get that. So I want to show you this, which really surprised me yesterday, but I didn't think anything of it. See, gold falls on stronger dollar, but right here, CNBC article, October 29th, today's the 31st. So what I'm saying is you could kind of look for these kind of relationships in the market via news, where gold is not up there, but if I look for platinum, I find this quite interesting. While platinum climbed 0.5%, 7%, there was an article where platinum, okay, I can go to Yahoo Finance, I guess. And I don't know if I can get a spot price of gold there, but we just do spot gold versus spot platinum. And now I'm doing all this raw, as you know. Gold spot, silver, platinum, Kitco, bullion price versus spot price, spot. Anyways, I don't want to get into it, but let's just leave it at that, where the platinum was getting more expensive than gold. So as a result, platinum started to move as a result. Another interesting one was BCO, Brent crude, where it's up 0.94%, where it did go up in the last 24 hours. Let me just check that. I'm just looking for any news events from yesterday. So Brent crude price dip on rising supply. Oil dips on rising supply. So I try to understand what is driving this price of oil. And if you have dropping supply, you'd expect increasing, to say dropping supply, rising supply. So if it's rising supply, you would expect it to increase in price. But I guess it's because it's a CFD, that would potentially mean that people are buying the equivalent of the dip. That's the only thing I can see. Now it comes back to the defensive plays of the bonds here, US 30-year Treasury, and the 2-year, but it's hardly moving comparative to sugar. The UK 100 has done okay as an index. And let's see here. Oanda is so that's an Oanda source. So interesting about that, where it has gone up. So I'm trying to understand the relationship on what drives these prices, because this is over the last, let's say 12 hours. So the one that's really surprised me here is Brent crude, UK 100, sugar USD. But the ones I've been tracking, this one, as I said, is quote unquote stuck. This one seems to be pretty consistent, and this one seems to be kind of consistent too. The best way for me is to look at the pricing, the watch list logs. I could do that later, but this one's definitely something strange. And the reason I say that is because of the volume of these things. So if I look at, for instance, the silver, gold and silver, this guy right here, this ratio, that was the second best moving. The question becomes, okay, so this is by volume. So it's not a lot of volume here, but there is some volume, not a lot. So I can't say if that would be a fill problem if you put orders on it, but it is a second best moving here in this order. This one would make sense as a defensive play for the German Bund 10-year, which is a bond. So if I do a search on that, see, this has very, very little volume versus the 200,000 or 700,000 that you had here on the NASDAQ 100. So I got to verify if this is, again, stuck, where it just because there's no volume, the price chart does not change. Sugar, let me just check on that volume as well. So these are things I need to verify, because if there's not enough volume, I think, yeah, if there's not enough volume, the question is, do they just stay stuck at the price? Like, look at this volume, like just under 3,000. So I have to be very wary of that with some of these, because if they're not moving, or sorry, the volume's so low, they're not moving. So that obviously skews the numbers. But when you look at BCO USD, I'm sure there's some volume there. Let's see, let's get rid of this. So if I look for BCO, see here, this volume's a little better, but it's I don't know how that is in terms of if there is going to be market data for this over the last 24 hours. There must have been, because it moved the price up. So that's what I'm looking at. And this one is another surprise as well, the UK 100 as a CFD. So I'll look at these reports and just see the volume here. That's why I like volume. Volume is, where's your volume? Hello, volume, where are you? Volume's not bad too, it's the same. So that's another interesting one as well. These treasuries, let me just check on the 30-year, just on the volume, just to do a test. If you guys got any questions or comments, just type away in the chat. Gladly get to them. So here again, the volume's fairly low on the US Treasury 30-year. So I don't know. We have to keep an eye on that relationship in the volume between the volume on these CFDs. Okay, next one. Let's go back to the analytics dashboard here. As I said, I'm using this more and more. So that's kind of the, I'll come back to that in a little bit, just to see what's going on the charts. And okay, let's do crypto. Crypto's kind of weird. It's moving, it's volatile. I did verify last night, over the last couple of weeks, what has been happening in the world of crypto. Here, there's something good here in this change here. I'm starting to see the sort of volumes again, and it's been kind of dead. When I start to see things like 8% moves over an hour, 7% over 3 hours for WAN Ethereum, that is a good thing. So there may be some volume starting to build back into crypto, which is good. So you can clearly see here we have XMR, WAN, and BTG and Steam. Now I've tracked these top 5 last night in my watch list. I will tell you they do move, but what you got to be very leery on is this negative downward move list, where they get removed from the watch list because the downward moves are too volatile, where if you put on any positions, it's too risky. It's not enough momentum in the instrument to sustain it, to push the price up further. So I keep a very close eye on this. Clearly here's an example. Okay, so today's October 31st. Happy Halloween. We know that we've got some big movers here, both on the WAN BTC and WAN Ethereum. Here's the problem. WAN Ethereum got removed from my list, the watch list, because it went too negative And that was just 2 hours ago, 2.5 hours ago. So that's too volatile. Same with both WAN Ethereum and WAN Bitcoin, as well as XMR is another example. XMR is really hard to trade where there's no solid momentum behind it. They do get the occasional move. And if I was to switch everything over to a 15-minute chart, I'd probably do okay. But as you know, when I put on my positions, I do watch for a minute, because if I've been in instances where if you only watch your positions, let's say every 5 minutes, 15 minutes, if it goes down and you're only checking 5 or even 15 minutes, you could be down 5-10% within that period of time, because you're checking it so infrequently. You could have prevented the loss being driven down further. So as a result, that's why I check every minute on the position when it opens. And this one, XMR, Monero, is one of those coins. It's very difficult to trade because of that. And again, when you check the negative downward list, again, we have, where are we? XMR, where are we? So the last time it got removed was at 3:30, is that 3:31? 3:31 a.m. So if it's not in the last, I've adjusted to check only the last 4 hours because I do want to get some positions. This gets added to the list of most potential. So we have here WAN, BTC, and WAN Ethereum added to this list. And same with XMR Ethereum, which is now up 3%, and XMR up 2.29%. These two, XMR, have a higher chance of potentially taking a position and moving up because it has a solid momentum, because the last time it got removed from the watch list was at 3:30. So chances are this may be taken over WAN. Now, when you check out Steam and Bitcoin Gold, let me see where Steam is at. So Steam was last taken out at 8.55. So that there's some potential there, as well as Bitcoin Gold. I've had some luck with Bitcoin Gold. Last time it was taken out off the list was at 8.55. So that's another potential. But here's it, in the visual sense. I'm not sure if WAN will get taken, but it'd be interesting to see if XMR for the first time will get a position. So let me just check that out. So here I can track the P&L, and I'm planning to make a table out of it instead of me having to go back into my log here. It's kind of a pain. But let's just see what happens. So we're at 89 positions since I started this log. Nothing's been taken because some of the conditions have not been met. So I have to tweak. I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live on this in a couple of hours on changing your strategy, tweaking your strategy when the market regime changes, because as I said at the beginning, I have not seen these kind of position up moves in 1 hour, 3 hours at 7-8%. I have not seen that for a good number of weeks, but here we are talking about it. So volume may be coming back into the crypto space. There has been some positive news on Bitcoin. So I can go into all the nitty gritty of momentum, slope, and all that. But just looking at the volume here on, again, this is off of Binance exchange, biggest in the world for crypto. See, it has been a huge, big gorilla in the room, which is really surprising. And ADA, I guess it's been political news of ADA and the founders and the split or something. I don't know about that. See, Ethereum's doing all right. XRP is an interesting one as well because of, I don't know if people have been reading, but Swift is interested in buying out XRP, the team Ripple. the company behind Ripple. So there's that. Okay, so we have that in mind. Let's move on to the world of, back to the dashboard. Let's do CFD, or sorry, Forex. Now, I don't know if you know about my reports, but I'm starting to see some patterns there that you can predict within 6 to 12 hours of what the movers will be. I have to verify that, but you know, Forex is one of those Forex is a really hard asset class to trade. If I was to show you some of the reports, you'll clearly see how it's so volatile with an up move and then a down move the next day. Try to do that on a 5 or 15 or an hour minute time frame. It's just a tough asset class to trade. So when you look at the volume here, let me just show you visually. Studying this now for about a week, you can clearly see which ones the big movers are. If it involves the Turkish lira or the South African rand, it's up there in terms of volume. People talk about spread, the cost of spread of these exotics. I'm not sure about that, but I have to test it. But I find it quite interesting where there's been talk of the pain trade of the lira and the rand. These are the most volatile currencies right now. And the hard part about these rand and the Turkish lira is if you look at this right here, the volume and the movers, okay? If I look at the movers, we're up 5% with the Turkish Japanese yen, okay? When I look at the losers, we have the euro, Turkish lira, and the US Turkish lira. So that trend right there is very difficult to trade because it's not volatile. So it looks good, but it's tough to trade. If I was to show you the report, you'd see what I mean. In this case, with the Turkish lira and the Japanese yen, they're moving, but yet they're up and down like a toilet seat. So you have to look for more stable pairs. So this one I've talked about last night, US dollar and the Thai baht. Let me check out the volume on this puppy. So here's the volumes. So comparatively to anything else, you can see the volume is very small compared to other pairs. You know, 1.1 million versus 6,000. It could be one of those instances where this, because there's no price changes, so it may reflect it still in the charts the next day. So again, I have to verify that. It was just discovered last night. Let me see on another one that might be a mover. So let's check out the US dollar and the rupee. This one's another interesting one. I've never seen this at a 1% move. So right here, again, volume is very low. So it's tough to gauge if this is real price move with that kind of low volume. So I need to figure that out. Okay, so I could go on about it, but I just want to give you the high level of what I'm watching. And if you're on Facebook on the Quant Labs net page, be on the lookout for my upcoming video on what do you call it? How to change your strategy in a market regime, because I think that's important. As you can see here. Anyways, I'll leave it at that, and we shall talk to you later. Have a good day, guys and gals, if you're out there.